Perfect Turd Podcast, episode 271, Lamar, Operation Blood Hunt.
Well, Joe, we're going to World War II with Quinton Rampage Jackson and werewolves. What could go wrong, Joe?
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see, Lamar. We'll jump right into it. Our first category. What do we think of the story on this?
Well, Joe, there is a priest who is played by Quinton Rampage Jackson, but he is recruited by the Army to go investigate some Marines that have gone missing in exchange for information about his father who disappeared a long time ago.
Yeah.
So he goes on this mission with a group of ragtag, soldiers. Come to find out, the reason that they've disappeared and all that stuff is because there's a little bit. Was it in Japan? No, it was the Japanese. What is it? Occupied little Asian island.
Yeah.
On their little island are werewolves, and they have to fight these werewolves, and they also have to find lost gold, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll say this, Lamar. This was pretty good as a story. It was nothing super original. Didn't blow me away, but it was a fun story. Here and there, it would lose steam, but then it would pick back up again. You know. But overall, it was, an entertaining story.
Yeah, it's that story of they find the guy that they believe is going to do, the most damage to the threat. They find out the threat is something supernatural, a la Predator, and then things get crazy. So yeah, like what you said, yeah, it was more interesting than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked it.
Well, what do you give it for story?
I give it a 1.
I'm gonna give it a half point. I did like it, but it's just kind of stock. No big deal.
Stock? What are you talking about?
Well, our next category is what do we think of the characters?
Well, the ragtag team was interesting.
Yeah.
You had an Asian woman who was good with blades. You had kind of like some gruff guys there. The gruff, they gotta lead the team. Blah 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 blah. Here's the weird thing. Quinton Rampage Jackson, who a lot of people know him from being a UFC legend, he was kind of on the more bland side, I felt like, compared to everybody else. And I thought, because he has a big personality.
He does.
But it was just kind of like...
Do you want him to do, like... he plays a preacher, though.
I know, but I thought he was going to be a preacher that did, like, some jujitsu and knock some people up, because he's a big guy.
Yeah,
so
he looked a little tired in this movie, Lamar. What? I said he looked tired.
Yes, he did look a little tired.
I didn't say he looked heavy or bloated or anything. I said he looked tired.
I didn't say anything. Was it my face, Joe?
Yeah, you gave me a look like I was going to say, like, he looked chubby or overweight or something.
You don't have to say these things.
But I was just saying he looked tired. And then you just looked at me like I was saying, like, he looked like, a little pudgy or something like that. But what I was trying to say is that he looked tired.
I'm sorry, Joe. But yeah, I thought he was going to do like more stuff because he does have a big personality, and I thought he was going to do some martial arts and all that kind of stuff.
I thought that I kind of understand what you're saying, because I thought like he was going to play it like super low key and then something was going to set him off. Like he was holding something back because he's a preacher, and then at one point he was going to just go berserk, but he never really did.
Yeah.
But the other characters were fun. Like, I like the team of people and stuff like that. That's always fun when they do that and get it right.
Yes.
I'll give it a half point for characters.
I agree. Half point.
Yeah. Well, our next category, Lamar, is what do we think of the werewolves?
That was kind of a surprise to me, but I like these werewolves.
Okay.
And let's just get it out of the way. Yes, they are big, probably big dudes in werewolf clothes or werewolf,
I don't think they're
outfits or
big
whatever.
dudes. They're on stilts.
Yeah, yeah. They're on stilts. But I appreciate that more because a lot of the other movies when we see them with werewolves are like CGI and they look like
Yeah,
crap.
yeah. No, I like this better than all of that. The only time they ever hurt themselves with the werewolves was when they put them in like out in the open in the light. In the
Yeah.
shadows, it looked pretty cool,
Hmm.
but there was definitely times in the movies where they exposed it too much. But I do
True.
appreciate the fact that it was like people in a suit doing the thing.
Yes.
But what about some of the other parts of the werewolf lore? Well, they
Okay,
did
maybe they
make.
took some liberty. Yeah.
Did I miss something? One of the characters, was he a werewolf that the sun burned him up? Or was he a
Because you're talking
vampire?
about the toothless vampire
He's a
guy.
vampire, right?
Yeah, but he
Okay.
lost his fangs, so he
Yeah.
can't suck blood, so he has to eat rats and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. He was okay, I guess.
Yeah, it was a nice addition. It was an interesting idea. I'll say that. Yeah,
Yeah, but as far as like the werewolf lore, like they made like specialized weapons to kill the werewolves.
they did.
So that was
Yeah,
kind of cool.
but weren't they in the sun? I thought they weren't. I thought they go back to being human when they're in the sun.
That's true. They were out in the daytime, weren't
And
they?
it only happens in a full moon when, well, we didn't establish the full moon thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but I did like the werewolves, not gonna lie. Maybe this is different, Joe.
I'll give it 1 point for werewolves. I appreciate what they did with it.
I agree.
Well, our next category is these other special effects and gore of the movie.
Well, I want to start with the action. The action was actually shot very well.
Yeah.
It was, of course, it looks lower budget, but the camera moves and stuff like that. I don't think they had any like digital like blanks and stuff like that. Maybe it was so quick. I think that's the thing. If you don't do it right, it looks crappy.
Yeah.
If they did it here, it looks really good. Um, things were practical, but
Yeah, the limbs. The thing about I like it because it was
yes.
practical. And I'm not expecting it to be, you know, something outrageous. As long as it's practical and it's kind of cool, I'm into it. It all looked like stuff that you can easily find in like when the Halloween pop-up store, like the
What are
fake
you talking
arms.
about, Joe? You can easily rip out a man's rib cage with the spine from the front. It's so easy to do.
Yeah, that and then the severed heads and
Yes.
stuff. There was a lot of that, and like I said, I still like it, even though some of it. And then as far as special effects, like to make the werewolves look more agile, they basically just sped up the video.
Yes. Yes, they did.
So it did a little. What do you give it for effects, Labar?
I gave it a one. I enjoyed it.
I agree. I'm gonna give it a 1 point. Like I said, I appreciate the effort and doing it practically.
Yes.
Well, our last category, Lamar, is they left this one off as a potential sequel. Do we want to see a sequel?
I do, but they need to let Rampage Jackson be more animated, in my opinion. Because I think this was shot well. I think him as a padre, like people come to him for help in the occult. I
Yeah,
like that idea.
right.
But yeah, let Rampage Jackson maybe make some, I don't know, some padre jokes or something like that, or like
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
But
because
I do want to see more.
that
Yeah.
makes sense. And they left this one off like someone else is coming to him for help, so it's like a new adventure. So it doesn't necessarily have to be werewolves. It could be vampires. It could be, some other
Mm-hmm.
creature or whatever. What if
Yeah.
they go back in time, Lamar, to a point where Rampage Jackson wasn't so tired?
Well, first of all, Joe, they would have to go even farther back before 19, what was this, 19, I feel like they mentioned the year. I don't know. It was during World War II, so they'd be like, what, the 1920s or something like that?
Sure.
He'll have some vigor about him. Maybe if
Okay.
he, maybe this is what our critique is going to say. Just, get them to be a little bit more lively in the next one.
Okay. Well, what do you give it for sequel potential?
I give it a 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 1 point. I enjoyed this well enough where I think they can go other places with this.
Yes.
Well, Lamar, we tally the score, and this movie gets a 4.25 out of 5.
This hits the marks of just a nice little B movie you can watch. Yeah, it's just a nice little, like, sit back, chill, see a little bit of gore, some werewolves on stilts. And yeah, it's a decent little, B movie watch. Nice little watch on Tubi.
Gotta agree. Like, this is just a solid. This is like kind of what we always hope for. Like, just a solid B movie, some silly practical effects, some action, decent enough of a story, and you just execute the premise.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. Does that wrap it up then, Lamar?
It does.
Peace.
Deuces.